Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate you hanging out here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You can see the jersey today is all Italy related. Very appreciative and very loving of my heritage, and Italy being a part of that, being Italian, having that in my blood. So I'm wearing my soccer jersey proud today, or as they call it overseas, they call it football. PJ and I are going to be talking about football, the Americanized football. We'll be discussing that in just a little bit here, where sports meets life. Like I said, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you're watching on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. You are listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and I'm very happy to have you here and be hanging out with you here this morning and every Monday through Friday, and so appreciate that very much. Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal not only bringing you fantastic coffee and that chocolate banana bread and the DT special pumpkin spice chai, but they're here with us in studio every single broadcast that we have here throughout the week, and very happy to have them here on the broadcast, and thankful so much for that. So Cafe Kubal, 5 locations, one inside of the Golisano Children's Hospital, and you can also get to Cafe Kubal by going to 3501 James Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, and 208 North Townsend Street. For all their locations, the mobile cafe will come to you, to your neighborhood or your place of business, and local delivery will come to you as well. So if you want to have those favorites delivered right to your house, you can have that happen as well by getting the information on that by going to WakeUpCallDT.com and clicking on the Central New York tab and then Cafe Kubal on there, or going directly to CafeKubal.com. That's Kubal, and checking them out there. And once you have that, you'll have the information, the ability to sign up for the mobile cafe, as well as the local delivery button, which is on the Central New York tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. If you click on Cafe Kubal, there's a tab right there to sign up for the mobile cafe, as well as to have your local delivery. So make sure you do that today. We appreciate everybody who supports locally here in our community. And when I say local, I include Carvel DeWitt, as well as Chick-fil-A Cicero and Honda City of Liverpool. They're names that people know around the world. They're places in our community that people know as caring, compassionate, and kind. And I appreciate that so very much. So, with that being said, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Awesome show for you today. First hour, we got PJ. Second hour, we got MW. So, Papa Joe joining us here in hour number 1 to speak on the Jaguars as well as the NFL as a whole. The SEC, the Florida-Georgia game that will be played in the Jaguars' home of TIAA Bank Field a day before the Jaguars play there themselves this weekend. And, of course, we will get into our picks in college and the NFL. So, Papa Joe with all of that. And then in hour number 2 at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, I'll be joined by Max White, offensive lineman for the CNS North Stars, who is a 2021 commit to play for the SUNY Cortland Red Dragons, and he'll be joining us following his announcement of his commitment. So, with that being stated, 2 awesome gentlemen, a very, very great show we got set up for you today. Let's bring the man in. PJ, how we doing today?
What's up, Daniel? What's up?
PJ, you know, there's obviously a lot going on in our world here today, and I can tell you that it snowed here in Syracuse just a few days ago, and now it's going to be in the mid to high 60s for a week. So I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So what's going on down there?
Well, it's the coronavirus. MT's got me quarantined again. So the MT quarantine deal is on. So the virus is rearing its ugly head, and it's becoming more prevalent in the state again. Cases are up to 5,000 a day. So I don't know what else to say about that. With the coronavirus and the election, there's really not a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, you know, and obviously with all this stuff going on in the world and whatnot, PJ, before we jump into sports, just, you know, what you can say about, I know that you're a faith-filled person. I know that, you know, you are somebody that leans on God, leans on your faith leans on positivity. What can you say about, a country divided and the importance of no matter what happens, who wins, what's going on, coronavirus and everything with that we need to come together, stay together, and find ways to help each other out?
Well, this is certainly not the way our founding fathers wanted us to look. The two parties are so diametrically opposed to anything that it's very difficult just to get two sides to get together to talk things out. I mean, it's terrible. It's awful. I mean, I'm embarrassed, frankly. I'm embarrassed by what's happening across the country. I'm embarrassed that these people got to go out and loot and pillage and destroy things. I don't understand it. I come from the old school, so it's very disheartening to listen to this and to watch it. So I don't watch it and I don't listen to it. So I do. My faith is very important to me, as it is to MT and my son Joe. So we're carrying on. We're hoping that God has a good plan for the country going forward. But I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. So I think it's probably we have to make our own way. So that's what MT always says. We got to make our own way. So that's what we're going to do.
And having obviously your son Joey and Mary T and the support of that, just to speak to that, the support and the love of, you have me, you have my mom, the support of this, of family and, friends that become family, blood that is family, just what you could say about the importance of family and, what that does and what that means and in tough times and in moments of strife, whether it's, on a big level or a smaller level, just what you could say about, the incredible importance of family and what that does.
Well, our culture is typically very close as a family. And when I was growing up in Syracuse, I stayed within my culture, frankly, until I was old enough to maybe meander out and get into the high schools a little bit. So I grew up in a strict Italian Catholic place, and you did the same thing. So we're several years apart in birth, but we have the same kind of values. The family. You can't win without a strong family accent. You have to have it, and you have to have the love and the support of everyone in your family to try to make ends meet. You gotta struggle. I mean, it's really a struggle. I tell you, these last 6 months with the coronavirus and everything that's going on, I struggle myself to even wonder what's going to happen to the country. I don't understand it. I don't try to understand it. I just keep my own faith and do my own prayers and say my own rosaries every day. That's all.
That coming from Papa Joe here this morning. Keep the faith and stay positive, and appreciate the family that you have, the family that you make from the friends that you have, and the family that's blood that does stick around and is there, because family are the people that show up. And shout out to all the ones that have shown up in my life and are there for me, and the same for Papa Joe and the love that we have. And you're right. Wearing my Italy jersey today and the conversation that we have, you are right. That's, one of the people say, stereotypes are bad, but some stereotypes aren't that bad. And, the stereotype that Italian families are closely knit to one another and fiercely loyal. And, that's one of the beauties there. I have to ask you about Sunday sauce, really, before we get into football here. I've missed it so much. I haven't seen you and Mary T in almost a year, which is unheard of because of this ridiculous virus that's hopefully, God willing, we will find a way to deal with it. Here's a crazy thing to the parties out there. The virus is not partisan, so you shouldn't be either. But the reality about, trying to find a cure and all that good stuff, we haven't been able to see each other. So I got to ask you about Sunday sauce. Are you still doing Sunday sauce? And what's been on the menu lately? Let me live vicariously through you and pretend like I got to eat the food.
Daniel, I've been having Sunday sauce for 60 years. 70 years, actually, because my mother had it every Sunday. No, well, we do the same thing. We vary the sauces differently. Sometimes we'll have a shrimp marinara with some mussels, which I love. I love mussels. Scallops, Mary likes a really good white or red zuppa, and that's the Italian word for soup, and it's with clams and mussels and shrimp and scallops all in your favorite sauce, and you pour it over whatever pasta you want. We vary from stuffed shells to manicotti to lasagna, something different. Most of the time, though, it's just a regular old red sauce over probably linguine or some ziti or some rigatoni. Rigatoni is my favorite. But it's something we look forward to every Sunday, and of course, Joe being off on Sunday now, he gets to partake in it instead of having leftovers.
Yeah.
So no, my sauces don't. My sauces vary in the way we make them, but we always have a Sunday sauce, Daniel.
Yeah, and I miss it terribly, being able to have some Sunday sauce there. Mom and I do some things up here, but we miss it, and I will be down there to see it. I said somehow, some way, I will sneak down there in a horse and buggy covered by blankets, and I'll find my way to see you guys. But we got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. Jake Luton, I'm not surprised. Some people may be. Jake Luton for the Jaguars is starting this week. He is a rookie. He played his collegiate career in one place. He played at Oregon State for 3 years, but did transfer there. Most recently, he had 20-plus touchdowns to a mere 3 interceptions. As a career, I believe he had 42 touchdowns to 15 interceptions in college. Very much on the right side of things when it comes to that. Minimal turnovers. One season of 4 interceptions, another of 4, the last one of 3. And so, more often than not, he's throwing to the right team. And I know how much you love Jameis Winston, who likes to throw to the other side. But
poor Jameis.
I told my buddy Evan yesterday, who's a Florida State fan, that Jameis Winston is the favorite quarterback of 31 NFL teams. So the reality of it all is the fact that Jake Luton, who's not that bad statistically collegiately, is going to get to start. The Jaguars utilized a pick on him later in the draft. What are your thoughts on Jake Luton starting? Obviously, it'll be his first start in the NFL. And the decision of the Jaguars to start a rookie in a season where they only have one victory, to start a rookie as opposed to Mike Glennon or another veteran.
Well, interesting question. There's actually been a lot of talk down here about both quarterbacks. Actually, not Mike Glennon. I'm talking about Gardner, Minshew, and Luton. There's actually been a lot of criticism, unfortunately, about Minshew because he didn't reveal his injury soon enough to where the Jaguars could make a game plan and try to win. I mean, he played 2 weeks with a fractured thumb, so I'm sure that Gardner's a big, tough guy, and he wants to be a tough guy. He wants to show how tough he is and a leader and everything. But Gardner did the wrong thing there. He wasn't forthright with Coach Marone, and that's not the way you build a team. I mean, someone else has to come in now. And this kid they're raving about. This kid's got a real bullet for it. He's got a real rocket arm, and he's been known to throw the ball 80 yards on the fly. And he's just a big, tall, strong guy, 6'6", 240. Don't know much about his running, but I know he's got a hell of a bazooka. Jake Luton is acknowledged that he's going to have a tough time. He's going against a decent defense. He used to be real good with J.J. Watt, but Houston is a shell of a team. But Luton's got all the physical tools to do this. He's crammed the offensive book to where he's got some plays now that he's real comfortable with. And there's probably going to be some areas where he'll be rolling out a little bit or maybe screen pass, things like that. What really worries me about the Jacksonville right now, even though with Luton starting, which is fine, I mean, Marone says, all respect for Mike Glennon's been around. I know what Mike Glennon's got. I don't know about this kid. So he says, we're 1-6. What are we going to do? Let's see what the kid's got. Let's see what he shows.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to do. The one thing that bothers me about what's happened to Jacksonville the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, is that their reliance on Robinson. I mean, he's an outstanding young running back. Probably he may even get Rookie of the Year. I think he's certainly deserving of that. But they're using him in so many different ways. He's only a rookie. I mean, come on, he's not a very big guy either. I mean, he's tough, but he's not a very big guy. And to use him like Alvin Kamara, he's not an Alvin Kamara of New Orleans, but that's what they're trying to make him look like. I mean, they're going to run this poor kid in the ground if they don't let up on him. So maybe they need to mix something up with some other backs in there and so on to make the job easier for Luton. Frankly, having Robinson as a safety valve is a pretty good idea, but you're going to kill the guy. I don't want to see him get pounded in there every week. Carries the ball 15 times, catches 5 or 6 passes. So they got to do something different. But all the talk down here about Luton is good. He's a big, strong guy. They're really looking forward to watching play. And you're going to see some real bullets come out of that rifle.
Yeah, and we look at the fact Jake Luton, like I said, and was talking about his statistics. I told you that he had career-wise, he was able to, when we look at touchdowns to interceptions, I said 42-15. It was actually 43-15, so very close there. 42 touchdowns that he threw at Oregon State. He threw 1 at Idaho. So when he was in Idaho, he played in 6 games and had 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. Then at Oregon State in the Pac-12, he played in 4 games in 2017, and he had 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Then he played in 8 games in 18, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then playing in all 11 games for the team. In 2019, he had 222 completions, 358 attempts, 62% completion percentage, over 2,700 yards, 28 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and it was his second season in a row of over 1,600 yards passing. His completion percentage overall is over 62%, which is notable to say, and obviously 43 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, not too shabby. So the numbers are good, and I talked about this when they drafted him. I was like, don't just think that they picked up some random guy, late in the draft, like who's this guy and who cares and whatnot. I was like, this is a guy who statistically has some good numbers. Now, will he translate to the NFL is a big question. Some guys have really great numbers and don't translate. Some guys have kind of okay numbers and they translate better. And some guys have numbers like he has and they go to the NFL and do well. But when they drafted him, I went and found his statistics and let everybody know, in case you don't know who Jake Luton is, here he is. And, obviously they think he's good enough to start and have the opportunity to go out there and get it done. Jacksonville is in a place right now where it's a wide open field, right? They have nothing to lose, everything to gain. They are struggling. Unfortunately, sometimes in the worst ways possible, they look like Syracuse. Syracuse is 1-6 this season. Jacksonville is also 1-6 this season. The Syracuse is on a 5-game losing streak. Jacksonville's on a 6-game losing streak. So they look almost snake eyes in this whole thing, and they're coming off of a bye week. But, PJ, I got to make a note here because there's something that is going on and obviously developing, and we talk about coronavirus and how things can change on a dime. The Houston Texans closed their facility today after one of their players tested positive for coronavirus. Now, they were informed of the positive test Wednesday night. All operations today will be conducted virtually. The team did not identify the player that tested positive, but ESPN was saying that it was linebacker Jacob Martin, and Houston Chronicle had reported that first. This is what the team said in a statement. Quote, in consultation with the NFL and medical experts, we've made the decision to close the facility and conduct all operations virtually today. The player immediately self-isolated and contact tracing has begun. We will follow the NFL's intensive protocols and guidance regarding the team's operations. The health and safety of our team, as well as our entire staff, are of highest priority, end quote. So, they're playing Jacksonville this weekend at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Thoughts on that? Now, Jacksonville went through this. They went through this with players on the practice squad and closing the facility, and they were still able to play. Any concern that the Houston Texans, who are traveling to Jacksonville, have a player who tested positive? Now, that player has immediately been quarantined. The team found out last night. They're not doing anything at the facility on Thursday. Other teams, allegedly, this year have gotten together when they were told not to get together. Hopefully Houston doesn't do this. But what are your thoughts?
Well, it's like beating a dead horse. Every week is something for some team somewhere. Even my Wisconsin bros up there can't watch Wisconsin play because they can't get on the field because of this virus. I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel the game because if a couple more people test positive, then they'll cancel the game. So I know it's beating a dead horse because you and I talked about it so many times over the last months. If they'd have just bit the bullet, shut everything down 6 months ago, we'd all be drinking our hot chocolate on Sunday afternoon instead of worried about who's going to play football. So, this coronavirus has actually changed the entire landscape of sports as we know it.
Yeah.
Especially the college football games. I mean, Trevor Lawrence himself has turned the entire college football season upside down. And frankly, I don't know if Clemson can win this game without him. But it's a mess. And every week there seems to be adjustments here or there. You got to do this, you got to do that. This guy's not playing, you got to be careful here. All of a sudden, you got 8 or 10 guys out. You get on the field, you get killed 50-0. I mean, that's not playing football. It's awful. So,
yeah.
I hope the young man's all right, and I hope that these guys travel over here and are ready to play ball. But I don't know. Get back to Minshew, and as opposed to Luton. Minshew we know is a very creative guy. He can do a lot of things in the pocket. Most of them are right, some of them not so right. But he's very clever and he's very smart, obviously. And his creativity, I think, is something that's going to be missed when it comes to Luton. Because Luton is just because he's so big, I don't think he's going to be able to dance around the way Minshew does. So, between the virus and these guys coming over here and Luton having his first game, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. And frankly speaking, I can say that I'm pissed the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, 4 or 5 years. It's just been nothing but finality when it comes to the Jaguars. There's nothing there. There's no plan. They thought they had a plan, but the plan isn't working. The draft isn't working. So the general manager's not working. The coach isn't working. The coaches are not working. So we're stuck with a 1-6 team coming against a real good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If he gets hot, it's over with. And J.J. Watt, if he plays, he'll probably break in Mr. Luton. So it's not going to be a lot of fun for the near future for the Jaguars. And frankly, it hasn't been fun the last 4 or 5 years.
No, and the reality of it all is a team that was one step outside of the Super Bowl. And it took them a decade to get back to the playoffs. And then when they got back, they almost got to the Super Bowl for the first time ever. It was their 3rd time in an AFC championship game, all with Tom Coughlin in the building, either as a head coach or as the executive VP this time around. And, they did knock down the door. The team separated after that. Things didn't go well. And, it's just a great unfortunate of what Jacksonville has looked like these last few years. And, well, actually, these last many years. And outside of that one run to the playoffs, it's been over a decade of pain and, fans having to deal with it. So I think Jake Luton has nothing to lose. We mentioned Doug Marone's comments last week and how he's fired up and he's going to do whatever and he doesn't give a this and he doesn't give a that and I'm going to be there and I'm going to do this. And I would say to Doug, where the hell was that energy for the last 3 years? I would also say to Doug, it ain't, it's not working. Like, what is the deal? Because, this is a team where I'm not going to say you don't have talent. Your most talented offensive weapon was an undrafted free agent out of Illinois State. So, I mean, guys can make it happen. Guys can figure it out. Guys can do it. They're in the NFL. Stranger things have happened. But the reality of it all is, this is a team that just doesn't seem to make great decisions. It's a team that doesn't seem to, have the right plan set in place. It's a team that looks like they're reeling and on their heels more often than they're not. And, it's a culture problem. When a decade plus goes by and the team looks the same with different players, that's a culture problem. So now we have to change the culture. It doesn't happen overnight, but, you can't say, well, it's just this coach and it's just this and it's just that and it's just that. The reality of it all is Jacksonville has become accustomed to losing, so it's awkward when they win. It's strange when they win. And that's not what you want to be. You want to be like the Alabama, where if you lose one game every season, it's a national championship, as opposed to being a team where people are like, wow, Jacksonville made the playoffs? What the hell happened? Everybody else fall asleep? So that's the reality that Jacksonville lives in right now, and I don't want to see that. And obviously, again, it's a culture issue. It's a systematic issue that has just domino affected through. It's not something you change overnight, but it's something that has been crumbling the fabric of what Jacksonville should be for many, many nights. And these nights have compounded on each other to put us where we are right now.
Yep. Very well said. I just can't define it any better than that. But, there is some light at the tunnel, the end of the tunnel, and hopefully maybe they'll win a couple of games coming down the stretch here, and maybe Luton will turn out to be the franchise guy that they want. But they've had big guys before. They had Bartles, and they had, what's the other guy, the big tall guy who started from Jacksonville?
They had Bortles, they had Blaine Gabbert, they had Chad Henne.
Yeah, Gabbert. Well, all these guys are 6'5" and 6'6", but they didn't have anything in the brain. So maybe this boy's big. I mean, he's really big. And so maybe he's got the smarts that needs to go forward.
Yeah,
it upsets me more that the team maybe is a little nonchalant. Doug Marrone doesn't need to go over and talk to his team and give them any new-broccoli speeches. That's not what professional coaches are supposed to do. These guys are professional football players. This is their job. They should come to the table every week to play as hard as they can. But that's not the way these kids are these days. They want to be spoon-fed. They want to be this. They want to be that. It all happens in high school, then in college, and then in the pros. But you're going to come across someone like Tom Coughlin, who's from the old school, who didn't want to see any of that junk, and that didn't work either. So, Jacksonville doesn't have any easy answers now. They got to see how this kid throws. I mean, this kid could throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, and we're going to have the next coming of Mark Brunell. Well, that I don't know, but I'm going to watch the game because I'm loyal, and I want to see what's going to happen. There's not going to be a lot of fans in the stand, just like there's not going to be a lot of fans in the stand for Georgia, Florida. Now that's going to be something different.
Yeah, and that was something that, in a perfect lead-in that I want to get to, is the best game that arguably has been played this entire season in the Jaguars' home of TIAA Bank Field looks to be Florida-Georgia. The best game that we're going to see in the Jaguars' home is not going to be played by the Jaguars, arguably, as Florida-Georgia comes into town for this SEC matchup, something that they like doing, obviously, throughout history is come to the Jaguars' home and play this game. What are your thoughts on Florida-Georgia as it goes down right now, and knowing that arguably in a comedic way, but also in a serious way, that this very well could be the best game that we have seen or will see all season played at the Jaguars Stadium?
You're right there. I mentioned this earlier, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. The Florida-Georgia game is typically typecasted as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And if anyone's ever seen something like that, it's amazing to watch. You got orange on one side, orange and blue on one side, red on the other side. In the parking lots, they even have it roped it off. The tailgating is unbelievable, par excellence. You can walk anywhere, of course, you stay in the Florida side. You can walk anywhere you want, get a beer anytime you want, have a hamburger anytime you want. And they take in these drunken sots, and they bring them into the stadium where they buy more beer, and they watch football. And they do their booing and hissing and everything else. But, man, it is something to watch. But this year will be entirely different because there's only 17,000 fans that can fit into the stadium with the coronavirus restrictions. And Georgia's going to have, 8,500, Florida 8,500. And they'll be sitting opposite each other, all the space in the world between them, right? And they're going to be hooping and hollering and yelling and screaming. It's just not going to be the same. I mean, I've been to several Florida-Georgia games, and I don't drink. And it's hard for me not to drink because there's so much fun going on. I mean, I used to go to sit with fraternity brothers I haven't seen in years over the games.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to one in several years. But it's actually an event. It's not a football game. It's an event. And the police are very well. Their presence is felt everywhere because you got some idiots. They got to act stupid. And they got to arrest them and throw them out. So, but the game itself is going to be probably one of the best games in college football this year. It's very potent offense against a very stingy defense, typical SEC stuff. I know the SEC is down this year, and people want to pile on me. That's fine. I don't mind that. Georgia, of all the poor defenses played in the SEC, Georgia has the best poor playing defense, if there is such a term, the best poor playing defense. They're going to be tested with Florida. So, you know, let everyone, there won't be any tailgating either. You can't tailgate this weekend. Yeah. So you're going to drive in, you're going to park your car, you're going to go in the stadium. That's it. You're going to yell and scream and then go home. That's it.
Yeah, you know, and it's definitely going to be interesting. I do want to make a side note here. The game that's being played tonight, the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Your Packers, your family up in Wisconsin, very excited about this game. It's a road game for San Francisco. San Francisco has about 14 players that can play in this game. So not only are they injured, but now they have 4 players that are being added to the COVID-19 reserve list. Brandon Ayuk, who I told you was the only fantasy value on the team besides Jermichael Hasty, their running back, he's on the list. Deebo Samuel, who's been injured this season multiple times now, he's on the list. Trent Williams, their left tackle, is on the list. They also have a wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne. I don't know if they have any receivers that they can field this game with, which is insane. I picked Green Bay to win it. Now, Green Bay lost on the road during the regular season at San Francisco last year. Then they lost in the playoffs almost the same way. But I said this time around, I got Green Bay winning just because of the fact that I give them an edge over a team that's got 5,000 players injured. Just to let you know, besides the guys that were already hurt, we look, and if you add everybody in with the reserve COVID-19 list, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., Deebo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Hurd, Chris Thompson, Richie James, Jordan Reed, George Kittle, Dee Ford, Ezekiel Ansah, Ronald Blair, Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Mark Nizocha, as well as Kiko Alonso, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, and Jaquiski Tartt, as well as Richard Sherman, are all either injured or on the COVID-19 list. That has left them with 1 wide receiver. 1. 2 tight ends that people don't know at home, Ross Dwelly and Charlie Warner. Trent Taylor is the only healthy receiver on the depth chart. Jermichael Hasty and Jerick McKinnon are the only healthy running backs. And Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard are out there at quarterback. I have the Packers winning the game, PJ, and I'm sure it makes Wisconsin people happy, such as your family. But I can tell you that, San Francisco, just between their quarterback, their running backs, and their wide receivers, and their tight ends, just in skill positions and your quarterback leader, you are looking at a team that can barely field an offense. So Green Bay, if you don't win this, I don't even know what to say about that in assessment and analysis. Green Bay's playing against a team that's got a black eye, a broken toe, a busted foot on the other side, 1 arm, on crutches with the other arm, and, a heart that's barely getting by, an appendix that's been taken out, and they got 1 lung left. I would imagine that Green Bay is going to win this game.
Well, they should, but, Green Bay doesn't stop the run. And my bro Brewski up there, he's always bitching about Green Bay not being able to stop the run. So what's going to happen with San Francisco? They're going to run the hell out of the ball. Yeah. They're going to run it and run it and run it. And if Green Bay can't stop them, Rodgers can't get on the field. So San Francisco may be hurting, okay, but if they got a decent offensive line that's healthy and they start pushing it Packers around and getting 4 or 5 yards every time they run the ball, that is going to be a long night for Green Bay. Of course, I got Green Bay winning the game because the talent level right now is absurdly toward Green Bay. Rodgers is playing well. He's not playing great. He's not playing bad. Playing well. He's got a lot of touchdown passes. Yeah. He got Devontae Adams, who he goes to sleep with. That's those 2 guys are like one. Man, they're on. But as I said, if Green Bay can't stop the run, all San Francisco is going to do is run it.
Yeah, and Jermichael Hasty is one of their only healthy players, so they kind of have to run the ball. They are extremely, extremely thin in this game, which is insane to see the 49ers, a team that made it to the Super Bowl. My prayers to each and every single one of them that they get better and they get healthy and they stay healthy. So with that being said, PJ, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, and we're going to start the fast break with Avicoli's because I'm wearing my Italy shirt, and we're talking about how awesome it is to be Italian today. So, and as I do many times. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, you and I have more to discuss in the world of college football, as well as to make our picks for the week. That's coming up right after this fast break with the man that they refer to as Papa Joe, and one of the greatest human beings that I know. And if the election had PJ versus anybody, I'm going with PJ. So that's...
I'd be kicking some ass, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so I mean, it was PJ versus the world. I picked PJ. So with that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this, where sports meets life, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. You are here with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and inside of that beautiful cup that you see behind me, I put the DT Special in there, the pumpkin spice chai with my almond milk. You can get your pumpkin spice chai at any of the locations. It's called the DT Special. It is my signature drink at Cafe Kubal, and you can go out and get it today at the Golisano Children's Hospital location, as well as 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, and 324 West Water Street. You can also go to you can have the mobile cafe come to you, to your place of business or your neighborhood, and you can have local delivery delivered right to your doorstep, and there's no delivery charge for those of you living in Onondaga County. With that being said, we're here inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. PJ's popping with us this morning. We got a lot of stuff to get through, talking about Jacksonville and the woes of the Jaguars, as well as their decision to start a rookie over a vet. The best game being played in Jacksonville's stadium this season at TIAA Bank Field, arguably coming this weekend when Florida Georgia play a college game. And we also spoke on the extremely thin 49ers. So PJ and I got into a lot of things here today. PJ, to stay with the NFL for a second before we flip to college football, the surprises for you, I'm going to ask you, some of your biggest surprises in a good way and biggest surprises in a not so good way. So the teams that surprised you and how good they are, and the teams that surprised you and how not so great they are. I'm just going to make a note here before you give me your answer. In the AFC East, the Bills are at the top at 6-2. The Jets are at the bottom as the only defeated team in the NFL, 0-8. The AFC North, the Steelers are the only undefeated team at 7-0. And then we look at Cincinnati at the bottom of that at 2-5-1. Tennessee Titans lead the AFC South at 5-2 with Indy right behind them, which is how I projected it. Jacksonville at the bottom with the Texans at 1-6. Kansas City 7-1. Their only loss coming to the Raiders, who are 4-3 behind them. The Chargers 2-5 in that division, the AFC West. And then to flip over to the NFC, the NFC East is absolutely, positively, atrociously disgusting. And if you add them all together, if you add them together, PJ, 8 wins combined over 4 teams, 8 wins combined to a combined 22 losses and 1 tie. So as a division, they're 8-22-1. Philadelphia leads the division at 3-4-1. Washington 2-5. Dallas 2-6. No matter what, Dallas is trying to lose to the best of their ability, and they're still in the hunt for the playoffs. And then the Giants are 1-7. The Green Bay Packers in the NFC North lead that at 5-2. Chicago behind them at 5-3. Then Detroit at 3-4. Minnesota at 2-5. The NFC South features the Bucs at the top at 6-2. Right behind them, the team that typically wins the division, the New Orleans Saints at 5-2. Panthers 3-5. Matt Rule and company there, and then Atlanta 2-6 after firing their GM and head coach. They actually look a little bit better. Seattle in the NFC West, the best division in football, 6-1 Seattle, Arizona 5-2, the Rams 5-3, and the San Francisco 49ers are 4-4. Looks like they'll be 4-5 with such a depleted team this week. So, PJ, biggest surprises in a good way, biggest surprises in a not so good way.
That's a good question. I do have some opinions. My biggest opinion is Buffalo being at 6-2. I never thought that they would get that good this quickly. But Allen's a stud, and he's going to carry him. There's a guy who's another big, tall, 6'6", 250 pounds, and doesn't mind running. Yeah. I'll tell you that. So, actually, Buffalo can ride this guy. And he's been exceptional. I think Indianapolis is a surprise this year. With Phillip Rivers coming over here doing as well as he is doing. We know Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback. He's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. And he's another guy who's another big, tall, strong guy who can carry a team. And he will be carrying this team. Pittsburgh being 7-0, I never saw that. But last week's game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, that was a playoff game there, boy. Man, those guys were hitting, and it was tough. Lamar Jackson just didn't do the right things. He lost the ball too many times. I think he's had 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. You can't do that against Pittsburgh. Now, you mentioned the NFC East, which is terrible. I don't even think we got to talk about them because they're so bad. I don't think there's anything good to talk about.
No.
Green Bay. I'm a little worried about their defense. You're gonna win with Aaron Rodgers. Period. If they got any semblance of a defense, they can hang in there and maybe wind up 10-6 or 11-5 or something like that and win the division. Seattle, the best team in football right now with the best player in football. Russell Wilson is the NFC most valuable player. Period.
Yeah, and the thing is, and kind of the irony, how surprised are you that Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote? Not even one, not a single solitary vote. Is this? I don't understand it. I mean, obviously, I am not currently voting in it. If I do get to someday, I won't be as as insane as this stuff is. But to look at it, to put it lightly, I guess. But how surprised are you that Russell Wilson has never gotten at least even one vote to be the MVP?
That's surprising. But again, you're on the West Coast. We don't get to see a lot of games. I never get to see Seattle unless they're on Monday Night Football or something like that.
Yeah.
But I go back a long way with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson played for NC State. He tore up the ACC when he played. Then he decided he wanted a graduate transfer to Wisconsin. So my brothers call me up and they say, "Hey, what's with Russell Wilson?" I said, "You just won yourself the Big Ten. And you may even win the national championship. This guy is for real. He's a real deal, and he'll win. He's a winner, period."
Yeah.
And of course, now he's at Seattle, and he's not doing anything different. Russell Wilson is a very, very good football player, and he hasn't got the accolades because he's out there in right field in the top left-hand corner of our country. Who the hell's going to watch Seattle if you're in Philadelphia or New York or Atlanta? No one. So he doesn't get the exposure. That's up. I blame Seattle for that. The team should be putting him on posters everywhere around the country.
Yeah, and this is a very weird. This has nothing to do with Russell Wilson, but a very weird note. The MAC came back last night. The MAC attack is back, and the MAC conference got out there and played all their games on a Wednesday night, on opening night of the MAC football season. Kelly Shorts Stadium in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, lost power, causing Central Michigan and Ohio to take a early halftime. The game had 1 minute and 17 seconds left in the second quarter. Ohio was facing 3rd and 6 on Central Michigan's 10-yard line when the power was cut. Central Michigan was leading 20-13 when the lights went out. Could have been a tie game. Caused a disruption in the broadcast. Referees told the teams to go to the locker rooms. Power was restored after approximately 20 minutes. The power problems were believed to be widespread around campus. And once the play resumed, Ohio got the ball back, and the team started with 1:17 remaining in the second quarter, then moved directly to the third quarter. Central Michigan went on to win the game 30-27. PJ, rolling blackouts? I don't know what's going on here, but we've seen all types of a lot of different things in 2020. The MAC comes back, and the power goes off with a team that is on the 10-yard line, down by a touchdown. Thoughts?
I saw that. I pulled up ESPN this morning, and right there on the screen was a dark screen with football players walking off the field, and I had to read it to understand what happened. I don't know how things like this happen. I mean, you got to have backup systems when you have a stadium like that. You just can't. The lights go out and you don't have anything. I mean, you got to have a backup system. Yeah. Apparently, they don't have They may not be able to afford a backup system, but whatever.
Yeah, it makes me think of a song, a pop song called "Baby When the Lights Go Out." But one of those strange things. How about this? Louisville postpones their game with Virginia, postponing their game it's postponed to November 14th due to coronavirus. Louisville has paused all their football activities. Its game at Virginia is being moved to November 14th. The ACC announced last night 15 members of the Cardinals tested positive for the virus. And so as a result, they have decided to move this. Now, Virginia Tech, mind you, has also had issues with the virus, but they played. Louisville is deciding not to play this game, and they were able to move this game, and so that happened. Now, there's a possibility they could play the game December 19th. If they're unable to play the game next week, they could play it the day of the ACC championship game. That's got to make you feel great. Hey, you guys stink. You're not going to be in the ACC championship, so you can play on the same day. But the reality of it all, that yet another game has now been moved. It's been postponed. You and I have talked about it a lot, but the schedule is all over the place right now, and the ACC has been dealing with it, and everybody's been dealing with it. I do want to stay with the ACC for a second, though, and I have a couple things to talk about. Obviously, we're going to get into Syracuse in a moment, But I want to talk about the Clemson Tigers. The Clemson Tigers found a way to claw their way back against Boston College, won the game 34-28 without Trevor Lawrence. They will be without Trevor on the road in South Bend, Indiana, in their game against Notre Dame this weekend. Notre Dame has not played a single ranked team this season, yet they are considered the fourth best team in the nation. So I guess you can thank 100 years ago of success or whatever you want to thank for it. But the reality of it all that Notre Dame hasn't shown me anything to be a top 4 team in the nation. Top 25, that's okay. But top 4, crazy to me. We look at DJ for Clemson filling in for Trevor Lawrence. DJ had 2 touchdowns, 30 of 41, 342 yards in the game. He also ran for a touchdown. The team won 34-28. When we look back at how the game went, it started out in favor of BC, 7-0. At the end of the first quarter, it was 14-7. At halftime, we saw Clemson down 28-13. Clemson brought it back close, down 28-26. So in the first, second, and third quarters, Clemson ended each quarter behind. And then in the fourth quarter, they were able to score. Clemson did not, or Boston College did not score any points in the second half. This is what gave Clemson the opportunity. Travis Etienne got a touchdown to take the team's first lead of the game at 32-28. They had only tied 7-7. They had never had the lead until the fourth quarter. And then Brian Breesy had a safety that made it 34-28 that ultimately won the game. Strange game, obviously not having Trevor Lawrence out there. DJ filled in well, and they were able to shake off a pretty darn good Boston College Eagles team. Thoughts on Clemson and their move forward and what they did against Boston College to win this game, and everybody focused on their offense, but shout out to their defense who did not allow a single point in the final half hour of the game.
That was a hell of a game. It was fun to watch. Frankly, I didn't think I was watching Clemson play football in the first quarter. I mean, Boston College's quarterback was just ripping and just taking apart the secondary. Guys were wide open. He was putting throws on a dime. I mean, he was doing a hell of a job. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? So I had to look him up, and he's a heck of a player. Big, tall, not a big, tall, strong guy.
Yeah.
But Dabo made his adjustments in the halftime, and they came out and played Clemson football on defense. Now, Clemson, to win this game this week, I'm not sure Coach Kelly is going to have any kind of film on DJ, just last week's win. So I don't know what kind of defense Notre Dame can offer. But if Etienne starts running the ball and they start throwing, the game will be over quickly. I just don't think Notre Dame has the power to stay with Clemson. But, Clemson is very volatile, shall we say, in the last couple of weeks. They haven't been themselves. And Lawrence had a terrible game. I mean, sure, he was Trevor Lawrence, but he wasn't doing his I mean, the last couple of weeks when he was playing, he wasn't doing as well as he should. Now, the defense is carrying the team. I look for them to really shut down Notre Dame's running game.
Yeah. Don't
know much about Notre Dame's quarterback. Lawrence, frankly, again, speaking frankly, I don't think Lawrence is the favorite for the Heisman Trophy right now.
No.
Because of him being out. So, he may come back and take them all the way to the championship game and maybe win it even. But Trevor Lawrence has upset everything, and all the way down the line, MVP all the way down to a starting quarterback for Clemson and the polls. So you see how much influence this kid has in the game.
I really, really want, because I know we talk about Ken Niumatalolo, my favorite coaching name in everything of Navy.
I can't pronounce that name.
Yeah, Ken Niumatalolo. So I want you with me to pronounce Clemson quarterback DJ's name. It's DJ Uiagalelei. Can you say it?
Hell no, I can't say that. Uiagalelei? Hell no. I'm just going to call him DJ.
Yeah.
That's all I know him at.
I do the Yodelehi-hoo, but the Uiagalelei is how you say it. Uiagalelei. So, I should just live in Hawaii. So, Hawaii. But I definitely need to get my butt out there. But Niumatalolo and Uiagalelei. is how you say his name. DJ Uiagalelei.
He's from Clemson is good enough for me.
Yeah, the quarterback from Clemson, PJ. I mean, basically, anybody there in Clemson, pretty darn good. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, PJ and I will make our picks, but not before we talk about the fact that Syracuse has lost yet another player, and they lost the player because they've decided they don't want to be here no more. So, we'll talk about it right after this. The writing seemingly looks like it's starting to form on the wall. We will talk about what is going on in Syracuse with yet another and arguably their second best player on the team deciding to forego the rest of his season. We'll talk about that and the message that he left to the fans right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal with 5 locations all around central New York, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, as well as 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, and 324 West Water Street. And in that beautiful cup that you see up there, I put in the DT Special. If you go to any locations, order the DT Special. It is the pumpkin spiced chai. I have mine with almond milk. You can have yours however you like it, and you can get it today at any of the locations for mobile pickup, as well as going right into any of them and ordering there on site. So with that being said, PJ and I got some picks to make, but before we do that, we have the reality that something seems to be happening in Syracuse, and it's the great unfortunate. Now, Andre Cisco came down with a freak injury, and all of a sudden, Andre Cisco wasn't playing anymore for Syracuse. Then we had, well, let me start from the beginning. running back Abdul Adams and running back Jarvion Howard opt out of the season. Didn't set right with me. Made me feel like it doesn't have to do with Corona fully, and that these guys are going to transfer. Had a conversation with Mo Neal here on the show, and Mo and I spoke about the fact that he doesn't know exactly what was going to happen with the gentleman, but that possibility, leaving that conversation, it felt like it could happen. Then Andre Sisco, arguably the best player on the team, leading the nation in career interceptions for active players, leading the entire nation, every team, 130 schools. He gets this freak injury before the game starts, a few games back, and he doesn't play. And then he declares for the draft. Trill Williams wasn't playing, and he was on the sideline this last week against Wake Forest. And again, it was, well, what the heck happened to Trill? And now he has declared for the NFL draft. So, Trill said this: Syracuse Nation, I can't begin to express how humbled I am by the love you've shown me throughout my time here. From day one, you've made me feel welcome, and because of that, I played as hard as I could for you every week. Coach Babers, Coach Monroe, who is the DB's coach, and the rest of the coaching staff took a young kid and helped me on his journey into becoming a man. I'll forever be grateful. The memories I've made with my brothers here will last a lifetime, and I wouldn't have wanted to share those with anyone else. We all play this game with hopes of reaching the highest level, and now it's my time to open that door. It's been a dream of mine to play in the NFL since I was 6 years old. But that being said, I will forego the final 4 games of the season and submit my name into the 2021 NFL Draft Forever Orange Trill Williams. Now, I want to preface this by saying I respect Trill. I appreciate Trill. I'm thankful that Trill came to Syracuse, to my hometown, and I hope nothing but the best for him. Also, PJ, your top 2 running backs opt out of the season, and we found out yesterday on a Zoom call that the players didn't even know that until during fall camp. Then Andre Sisco says, he gets a freak injury and disappears. Now Trill Williams, all of a sudden, he was injured, disappears. It seems like there's something going on that's bigger than Corona and bigger than the NFL draft in Syracuse. Is that fair to say, or am I crazy?
I guess you'd have to say it's fair. I don't get the news up there unless I turn on ESPN or something from Syracuse. I get all my news from you, most of the news. I don't think it's right for Coach Babers. I think he's getting dealt a bad hand here. He doesn't deserve this type of treatment. He's been there at a major university with tight purse strings and did his very best he could under those type of constraints. And it bothers me that this kid's talking junk. This kid's talking junk. Everyone's thankful to their coach and the love and all that kind of junk. That's BS. This kid didn't give a damn about anyone. And neither did the other kids. None of these kids who are opting for the draft and say, I want to thank my coaches in the school. That's all BS. None of them. They're all selfish. They gave up this way selfish. They were selfish in high school. They're selfish in college. And they're going to be selfish in the NFL if they make the team. Dino doesn't deserve this.
And, but as we see this, this is a very interesting scenario. And, the reality that this team has had one good season under Dino Babers, record-wise, one winning season, I should say. Besides that one, and that was with the players that, a lot of those players were players that were brought in by the former Scott Schaefer staff. The reality, and that's not to take away from any other players on the team, it's just to make note, Eric Dungy was there, and Eric Dungy's a killer. So he's cold-blooded in the best of ways. Great kid on the field, don't want to be on the other side of him. He'll run you over, he'll jump over you, he'll do all kinds of stuff. So 4-8, 4-8, 10-3 with Dungy, 5-7, now 1-6, arguably going to be 1-10 this year. They have to play BC, who's a tough team, at home. Then they have a break, and then they go on the road, and they have to play at Louisville. and then which they always struggle with in the ACC. Then they come home and they play NC State, another good team. Then they go on the road and they play at Notre Dame. So the reality of it all is this could be a 1-10 season. That also happened under Greg Robinson, who is considered by many to be the worst coach in the history of any Syracuse sport ever. So if players are leaving and players are holding out, and I'm not going to be surprised if and when Jarvion Howard and Abdul Adams transfer, if that is a reality, if this is a free year for players and seniors can come back and the seniors decide not to come back, and Abdul doesn't come back, and Jarvion doesn't come back, and Andre's already gone, and Trill is gone, if this is reality for Syracuse, is it a sign that the players are giving up on the Dino Babers era?
It sounds like that Dino has lost the locker room. Again, I don't understand it, and I think he deserves better. These kids. There's an interesting case that came up this last week about a coach being rehired as a baseball manager, and that's Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa is 76 years old. He's been a championship manager wherever he's been in baseball. But he's older now, and there's criticism of him because he won't be able to handle, quote, these new kids with new attitudes coming into the game. And that's it right there. Tony La Russa may not last a year because he won't be able to handle these new punk-ass kids that come in and think they know it all. Dino's in the same boat. He doesn't deserve it. He needs to walk out. He needs to end the year as best he can, clean up his resume a little bit, and find a job somewhere.
And I mean, we see where Syracuse is at right now, and I can't help but think that this is a sign. And Andre and Trill are making more of a sign to me, even more than Jarvion and Abdul. It's rolling in the wrong direction. So the AD of Syracuse, John Wildhack, said that he's keeping Dino in 2021 and looking beyond that. We know that ADs say all types of stuff. We know coaches say they're not looking at that school and then they leave 3 days later. We know that contracts don't mean much of anything because they get ripped up all the time when it comes to college football and whatnot. So my question to you is, if the team is 1-6, and if they go 1-10, 2-9, you got 4-8, 4-8, 10-3, 5-7, 2-9, or 1-10, something of that nature. Some people would argue and say, Dan, well, they could be 5-6. They're not going to be 5-6. I mean, my job here is to be honest. I love my hometown. I love my city. I love where I come from, but I'm never going to lie to somebody, especially about anything, including about, this job. You have to be impartial. We see in politics, and we're seeing on the news all the time, how partiality is killing this country. I think it's important to be honest when you're in the media. So, and it should be a prerequisite. But the reality of where we are right now is the AD says, I'm keeping Dino for 2021 and hopefully longer. Do you buy it? Do you not buy it? Is it contingent on how the team plays the last 4 games? What do you think?
Hell no, I don't buy it. No, I don't believe that guy as far as I can pick him up and throw. He might be out of a job too. Look, Dino has lost the locker room. He's good enough. He's a good enough recruiter and a good enough coach to make these three-star kids to play better than they are. And he can do that, but he's lost them. So the best thing for him to do is admit it and say, AD, I'm sorry, Mr. AD, but I know I only make $2.2 million a year, but I think I'm just going to take some time off and see what the future lies. I wouldn't blame him if he does that at all.
Yeah. So an interesting thing happened here in Syracuse, and we'll see it as it unfolds and as we move forward. Greg saying DJ's legit. Papa Joe still reluctant to say the name, but Uyagalale. But we'll get him there. I'm gonna go down to Florida, and PJ and I are going to we're gonna do this. We're gonna have some breathing and speaking exercises. we're going to get you to one of these, Ken Niumatalolo, one of those two. I say Ken Niumatalolo like I would say the word the now, because I've said it for 8 years. But final notes here, PJ, before we get into our conversation with Max White. I want to let everybody know Max is coming up here in just a second, and very excited to have him here. And so Max White coming up in a couple moments here, right after PJ and I make our picks, and Max and I are going to be talking about his commitment to SUNY Cortland coming from CNS. So for those of you that have come in and joined us for that will be coming up in just a second. PJ and I appreciate having you here. PJ, let's do a couple NFL, and then let's do a few college football. To the NFL, your bros appreciate it. I know they do. So Wisconsin is a swing state. California was decided before the polls even closed. So when Green Bay plays San Francisco, who's going to win?
Green Bay should win because of Atlanta. I mean, because of San Francisco's has a lot of deleting items on their team. So if Rodgers can score 35 points or 28 points, I think they should win. But as I stated earlier, if San Francisco runs the ball and Green Bay can't stop them, Rodgers will never see the field.
Yeah, I would be surprised what San Fran can do with 13 players and a donkey, but we'll see as they get ready for this game. Sad to say that they have a lot of players injured, players on the coronavirus list, and my prayers and my hopes that people get healthy and they get back to this soon, because it's a shame to see how depleted this team is. I'm going to go with Green Bay as well. Another game here that I know the entire world is on bated breath. Can't wait to watch it. It's a primetime game. It's a big game. It's a huge game. It's an insane game. Everybody is wondering what the playoff implications will be for this game. When? The Patriots meet the Jets.
Oh, my goodness.
And obviously
it's a primetime game?
It is a Monday night football game, just like people are having to watch the election results come in this is the funny thing. I started watching last night the election results at, I want to say 6. Let's say 6 p.m. And maybe 5:30, 6 p.m., I started watching the election results. And they said, in an hour, we're going to have breaking news from Arizona. And then they put up the same slide, the same numbers, and 11 o'clock, the same numbers. So they kept, and I said, this is what I say about how the media lies in general. I said, this is a perfect example of it. They tell you that they have news, so they keep you glued and they keep you stuck, and they just keep showing you the same thing over and over again, hoping you're too stupid to know the difference, and your eyes start playing with you. You're like, is that a 0.10? Is that a 0.1 difference? Did that change? Was it 87? Is it now 88? But the reality of it all is they keep telling you it changed. Nothing changed yesterday. We didn't learn anything more yesterday than we know today, arguably. And I don't think we're going to know much about the Patriots or the Jets in this. I mean, the reality of it all is the Patriots really don't have anything to write home about talent-wise, and the Jets even less than that. I called the Jets the worst team in the nation when you and I did our preseason power rankings, and obviously it doesn't look like I was wrong. They are 0-8 on the season, and on Monday Night Football in primetime television, everywhere on every set, if you have a TV with rabbit ears, you will get the Patriots playing the Jets. Why would the world, Papa Joe, do this to us? And who do you have winning?
Just the grumpy lobster boat captain should be able to pull us out. He may have to go out and play.
Yeah, this game is ugly. I think that's the least that Papa Joe has ever said about anything ever. So, some people thought we lost the feed. We didn't. PJ's here. This is just this is a disgusting thing to have to make us watch on television. But hopefully they'll make it interesting. Maybe they'll have more butt fumbles. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there'll be so many turnovers that it'll make it interesting. Who knows? But you can always hope that maybe the Harlem Globetrotters will come out to the middle of the field and they'll play with the football. I have no idea. That could be fun. But the final game I want to ask you about the NFL, because for this week, for Week 9, because I have an interesting take on it. The Jaguars and Houston. Who's going to win? Houston shutting down their facility today and doing everything virtually just a few days before a game due to one positive coronavirus test and hopefully no more. And hopefully that player is okay. And then Jacksonville going to start a rookie quarterback in Jake Luton.
Oh, boy. I want to say Jacksonville. I'm going to say Jacksonville because I think their defense can stiffen up and stop Deshaun Watson. I think the kid's going to have a good game. People are going to be surprised at the strength of this kid's arm, because he can really wing it. But he's got to have open guys to do it. So I think that Jacksonville will rally and win this game.
You know, it's fun. I didn't know what you were going to say, but I actually myself have also chosen Jacksonville. And I chose Jacksonville because the games that they're not supposed to win, those are the games that they play. They play tough and they play to the end. So don't be surprised if Jacksonville does what they've done in the past, which is win a game that they weren't supposed to. And that could be the game this week. PJ and I have a couple games to get to here. For those of you that are excited to have Max White on the show, he'll be joining us. CNS to SUNY Cortland. Max White, one of my favorite young people here in our community and favorite people in general, will be joining us in just a few minutes. I am so grateful for Max White and his tremendously amazing and positive attitude, which so many people could learn from, I believe. So with that being said, PJ, I do want to give a nod to the MAC really quick. Kent State defeated Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, and my guy Tim Lester, who I've known for a long time, was just on the show a little bit ago, defeated Akron, which is the team that defeated Syracuse. Buffalo, where Mike Washington Jr. from CNS will be going to, they defeated Northern Illinois. Central Michigan, after the rolling blackouts, defeated Ohio. Miami of Ohio defeated Ball State, and Toledo defeated Dino Babers' old school of Bowling Green 38-3. So there's games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, PJ, and arguably there's a college football game this Sunday when Tua plays Kyler Murray. So, Miami at Arizona going on. But I'm going to ask you a few games here before we wrap up. Michigan at Indiana. Indiana is 2-0. They defeated Rutgers. They also defeated Penn State on the road. Will Indiana get the best of Michigan, who just lost to Michigan State?
Yes, they will, because Michigan has been and always will be overrated. They won't be able to play with Indiana. Indiana's a real nice surprise this year. Really, really good surprise. I'm excited to watch that game because I really want to see what Indiana can do.
Yeah, you know, and people know that Indiana has a player whose name is Stevie Scott. He came from my alma mater of CBA. He told me that he didn't have much to say about Syracuse because Syracuse didn't really have much to say to him, and he ended up going to Indiana. So yet another player that Syracuse lost by not recruiting locally or finding the importance in it. And so a shout-out to Stevie Scott, Indiana, doing their thing. I chose them to win their first two games, and I will choose them to win their third. Next one that we have up, PJ, ranked in the top 25 in the nation. Liberty is at 25 in the AP. They defeated Syracuse and everybody else on their docket. Syracuse is the only ACC victory they've ever had, but they'll try to get their second one at Virginia Tech this weekend. Do they defeat Virginia Tech on the road and stay undefeated?
I think Liberty's going to step into the big time here. I don't think they handled Virginia Tech. This is two entirely different football programs. And Liberty, although they played well, congratulations to them. They handled Syracuse. Virginia Tech's a different animal.
Yeah, you know, Virginia Tech has been depleted. Virginia Tech's been ranked. Virginia Tech lost to Wake Forest when they were ranked. PJ, I'm going to ride the hot hand. I'm picking Liberty in this game. So
okay.
I'm going to pick Liberty to win this game. I have a sense that there's an opportunity for them to go undefeated this season or to be close. Remember, folks, Syracuse did not go to a bowl game last year, but three of the teams that they defeated did, including Liberty, who had 7 wins last season. A couple more games here for you, PJ. PJ, as we get wrapped up in our conversation with Papa Joe. Florida, Georgia. I got to ask you, Florida, Georgia. What I love about this is Florida, Georgia Line is one of my favorite country groups, and Florida, Georgia is happening this weekend. Who's going to win?
That's right. That's right. This is the game that's going to feature the best defense in the SEC in Georgia and the best offense in Florida. Florida will score some points. Now, whether they can stop Georgia's offense, which is mediocre at best, Georgia will win defensively usually, but I'm a Gator, true and blue. The Gators will outscore Georgia. Frankly, they should win the game by more than 10 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida in this game as well. The Gators getting on the right side of things. I do trust the fact that Georgia does some good things, but I think they might be a little bit more of a pretender than a contender as opposed to Florida this year, so I'm going to give Florida the slight edge. And the last game I'm going to ask you about, PJ, is, unless you have another one on your docket or on your minds here, the last game I'm going to ask you about is Boston College at Syracuse. Syracuse got out of the noon. They got out of the nooner. They got out of the noon game. When they give you that noon time slot, a lot of times it's you stink. We need to get the game off of television. In this case, Syracuse got a 2 p.m. They're going to be on ESPN 3. So that's an upgrade from being on ESPN 8 the Ocho the last 3 weeks. So Boston College at Syracuse, what do you have?
Well, I saw Boston College last weekend, and they looked absolutely great against a Clemson team that really didn't show up until halftime. Boston College will score a lot against you this weekend, Daniel.
Yeah, and I could hear how much it pains you to say it, but the unfortunate reality is I may see twice in my lifetime a one-win Syracuse football team. I'm picking BC in this game. My job is to be honest with you, and if more players start leaving Syracuse, the thoughts that I had that seems to be more realistic, that became even more realistic. If it becomes even more realistic, I'm very, very concerned about what that could mean for Syracuse. Remember, this is a free year for everybody. If you're done with your eligibility, you can still come back. You can transfer without having to wait. This is essentially college football free agency, and you can go wherever you want to go. Syracuse's team could look entirely different next year. So, it's kind of sickening and gross. But, it's one thing where it's just a hard thing to look at. So that being said, Papa Joe, we thank you for all that you bring to the show. Max White coming up in just a second, but not before I tell PJ, I love you, I respect you, I appreciate you, and I will be down to see you soon in my covered Oregon Trail wagon.
Okay, get the Amish to carry you down.
I will.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, my guy's going to be on the show here. Very, 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 very happy to have him on the broadcast, and that is Mr. Max White. So Max will be joining us in just a moment where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate your patience as Max White will get ready to come onto the broadcast with us right after this.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.